Hello again, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Game Pass Grab Bag Sidequest episode, where we got to review a early game that is, if you're listening to this, it is now available. But I am joined here by Donnie. We got to play Demeo / Dungeons and Dragons Battlemarked, which is unfortunately not going to be coming to the Xbox at the moment. I didn't see if they were planning on the release, but it'll currently be out on PS5, and where me and Donnie got to play it on the MetaQuest. But yeah, so thank you so much to Resolution Games that gave us early access so we could actually check this out, do a quick little review in a SideQuest episode. But kicking this off, I am Andrew, also known as the Dwarf Fighter, Stumpy McLumpy. And then, as I said, with me is Donnie, our Human Ranger, Tarkin Trash.
Yeah, good day.
But yeah, so Donnie was able to get a hold of the studio here because both me and Donnie, we both were big fans of the studio's first game, which was just Demio, which, unless you're a dumb American like me, I just kept pronouncing it Demio, but apparently it's pronounced Demio. But yes, if you do not know what Demio is, it is a top-down tabletop RPG role-playing game where you are playing as little tabletop figurines. You collect cards, your character levels up, you go through dungeons, fight monsters, progress through, uncover a story. And so now this is their second game, which, as you can tell by the title of it, it's Demeo and Dungeons and Dragons. Well, it's Demeo X Dungeons and Dragons.
Which I don't even know if you say the X. I think you just say
you
like
don't.
Demeo. Okay, yeah. I heard that on a Ball Pit episode, maybe.
Exactly. This is a random rant of mine. What is with the growing trend right now of X's in games names? Because some of them you pronounce, some you don't. Like Ball Pit, I think is just Ball Pit, but there is a Switch 2 game. I think it's like X Shot or something like that, but it's supposed to be pronounced Cross Shot. So it's like, what do you pronounce X's? Do you not? It's like, was there like a weird developer convention where someone's like, X's should be in names more, and now like everyone at the moment is putting X in their name.
That's why I say it's cyclical. Like, remember there's like an anime phase, like right after the Pandy. It was like everything came out with like this weird name that was like a name colon something. It was name colon something, and it was like a trend that like 8 games in the same year came out with. It was 24, 23, something like that.
That's a good point. Yeah, and now apparently the hot thing is the X.
Yeah, apparently.
But yeah, no, it's just supposed to be pronounced Demeo Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, this one I could make more sense of why they put an X, because you can't put another ampersand. The ampersand is very synonymous with Dungeons and Dragons. It would look weird for Demio, like ampersand and Dungeons and Dragons. Like, oh, that's
you know, that was in their pitch though, right? They're like, hey, here it is, guys, on the board. At one point in time, it was Demio ampersand Dungeons ampersand. That guy got fired. No, it probably happened.
To simplify, we're just going to call it Battlemarked.
Copy. Yeah, that's what I've been calling it, actually.
I mean, sorry, I will. You could do you, Donnie. If you want to actually call it the whole name, go right ahead.
No. It's Battlemarked to me. It should stand on its own because it is a different game. It's running the same engine. We'll talk about it in great detail, but it's a different game. So give credit where credit's due.
But yeah, if you've played Demeo like I have, you kind of know, like, all right, it seemed very much Dungeons and Dragons, like a tabletop version of it. And so now, seeing that they actually had an actual partnership with it, I was very excited for this game. When I saw this was coming out, I was like, there's very few games I actually played on my MetaQuest, and Demeo was definitely one that was definitely top of the list. I played it a lot with my friend David. We got tons of hours into it. I know he ended up playing a lot with his wife, so I was excited to see that came with a sequel here. The big difference, because if you've played the first Demeo was very much just single dungeons that you were kind of going in and progressing. But this being now with Dungeons & Dragons, much more bigger campaigns, role-playing going on. So at launch here, there's now currently 2 campaigns, which I already forgot the names. Oh, Embers of Chaos, which you are uncovering a goblin conspiracy in Neverwinter Woods, and you descend into the volcanic mountains of Mount Hotenau. And then the second campaign is Crown of Frost, where you survive a frost giant uprising. So these are much more fleshed out campaigns. So also too, just to kind of start off, if usually when you play or hear something of Dungeons and Dragons, I feel like with modern Dungeons and Dragons, you are getting one or two things. You're getting the old school hardcore Dungeons and Dragons where you can do whatever you want, burn, destroy anybody, villages, play heavy hardcore role playing. I mean, Dungeons & Dragons is the game that really brought in role playing.
Yeah, it's the
Or
best
you're
for a
getting,
reason.
yeah, I know, yeah. Or you get the more modern one now, which is much more user friendly,
Yeah.
and more limited, but it's very much more accessible, easy to bring people in. Because I've had this I mean, Donnie, you're a huge Dungeons and Dragons fan, so I'm sure
Yeah.
you could kind of attest to this. Usually, when you tell people that, like, "Oh, let's play Dungeons and Dragons," they're like, "Oh, this is a commitment. I got to do a whole bunch of work."
Only those who know Dungeons and Dragons say that. When I tell my casual friends that don't play, they're like, yeah, I'd love to. Let's come over. We'll drink some beers. I'm like, you realize I got to plan this for 3 weeks before you guys get here, right? Like, there's a lot that goes into this.
But I'm gonna say right off the bat, this is the more casual Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes.
So the story is much more linear. It's much more focused. Because that literally was the first thing I tried. As soon as we hit a tavern, I was like, "Can I start swinging at people? Can I
You did
start
say that.
attacking the citizens?"
Yeah. No, well, I mean, that's part of it. But like, that's like to your earlier point. That's what brought me to Demio, though. Like, because I think MetaQuest was 2 or 3 years ago. I think when Demio came out, and like I just had the brand new MetaQuest or whatever at the time, and yeah, I was like, oh, it's Dungeons and Dragons, but in VR. I'm like, that's what people told me. That's what I thought it was, and sure enough, that's what it felt like. At its core, Demio. This just adds that whole new layer at a licensed level, which means it's not random kind of fantasy sci or fantasy stuff. It's now like, actual characters from or locations and moves from the actual Dungeons and Dragons game, which is just a lot cooler, a lot more depth of immersion if you do have any awareness of Dungeons and Dragons at all. And for the casual guy, like you said, uh, it's perfect because it is a cool way to experience a little bit of it without any of that prep time.
Yeah. So obviously, to start off, just quick, whether or not we recommend this game, whether it's a game or it's a pass. I'm going to start off with this episode. For me, I am going to say, if you have friends, and I would probably say if you have a VR, this is a definite game. If you do not have people to play with, this was already kind of one of my biggest turn off with it, is this is very strictly heavy. You should play with friends. You can play single player and have a 4-party where you're controlling other characters, but they don't level up with you. It's just not as fun of a time if you're playing single player. But if you have some friends to play with, this is definitely a very fun game. So that's just a little bit of a caveat. I will say, though, it's easy to jump into other people's games. Well, we obviously had a review copy. There wasn't as many free people to play with. But anytime I played Demio and I didn't have anyone to play with, I could just jump into people's games. So if you have some buddies to play with, this is a ton of fun. Highly recommend it. Like I said, it's definitely way more fun in VR because the art in this game is fantastic. So overall, yes, I do recommend this game.
Yep. And I mirror a lot of that sentiment. I mean, it is a game for me as well, and I think that folks should try it. If you have VR, I think it's a lot more fun, like Andrew said. But I actually did get to play the PS5 version. In the PS5 version, I was able to join multiplayer matches. So even without friends that I coordinated with, I jumped in. I think I was telling you over this gameplay when we were playing on the Quest. These two guys were from Australia, and they were just playing a copy of it, and I just dropped into a multiplayer game, started the first campaign, and roll with these guys for one or two of these dungeons, and it was a lot of fun. So you can, just like Demio, you can pick it up and still hop into a multiplayer. At least when I did, the experience was actually smoother than when you and I tried to do it, and we were just coordinating together, Andrew. So yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it can be on multiplayer. But yeah, if you got buddies to do it, like Demio, I convinced all my friends to buy, anybody that had a headset to buy it. So I would do the same on this one. If anybody had an interest in D&D or just had an interest in the style of gameplay like this.
Yeah. So yeah, the stories of this game, as I said, there are these 2 campaigns. Me and you, Donnie, we played the Ice one, Ice
Yep,
Crown.
Crown of Frost. Yep.
Yep. And then today I played with my friend where she played on a PS5. She also is a very casual Dungeons and Dragons person. So when I first told her about this game, she's like, "Oh, is this one of those heavy Dungeons and Dragons games?" But once she instantly got into this, she was like, "Okay, this is simple. I can get into this." Yeah, we played a lot of the Ember Chaos one. And I gotta say, the story is it was very good. I enjoyed right off the get go. It did not delay. It wasn't too heavy. It very much, like the Embers one, was very much within 2 minutes. You're walking down the street, up, encounter goblins, instantly get into combat, instantly go into things, finish that, and some dialogue. But the dialogue was always very quick. I loved everyone could kind of skip on their own, so you could get to the end, or you could just, everyone could skip and just progress the story. I gotta say, I do like the story of this game so far. The 2 campaigns that I played, I didn't get to finish either of them, but I liked what was here a lot.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. So And like you touched on the story part, but again, story is not something that's gonna be weak in this, right? Because as you saw, there was already like 4 campaigns preloaded, and they'll release those as DLC, and who knows how many more will come. But as a D&D again like player, when you see that, it just brings all the feels. Like it's great to hear that you played with somebody that likes D&D but wasn't afraid to get or was afraid they would get too deep into it. That's a real concern, and like it is overwhelming for people, and it's overwhelming for my friends that I try to introduce it to. But when you play it like this, it's not even a dumbed down version because it's not dumb. You still are strategically using cards and placement in your moves, your skills. You have to roll dice, act physical, virtual dice on the board, either platform, PlayStation or Meta, and it still creates that tension. But it's just a simpler, easier path to entry. If you've had any interest, or even anybody that said, "Yeah, I played Dungeons and Dragons once," well, this is great because you don't need a dungeon master, you don't need anything. You can roll through, you can enjoy the story, you can skip it. The moves and like you said, the coverage is all there. So there's a lot of feels to it for sure.
Yeah, I wish I got to do a little bit more deeper part of the story
Yeah.
because there was things that made me question. So currently on the footage that I have going on right now, this is our first time diving into the Ice Crown one, and you rolled a skill check, failed it, and we got attacked by wolves. We end up failing, and so we're like, all right, let's do this again, and you succeeded, but still got attacked by wolves. So there was times where I'm like, okay, do our choices really even matter that much? Come to find out they do. I actually researched more of like what was involved in the kit, and yeah, your choices do matter. There are moments where you can kill people you are probably shouldn't, because later one of our campaigns, we fight a village and they start attacking us. We failed because we were trying to go for the chieftain, but he kept killing us. So like, okay, we got to kill the villagers. Me and you end up like massacring the village, and then at the end they're like, thank you for freeing us, but you killed a lot of us, so we're not going to help you, but we won't kill you. So it's like, okay, so I guess if we actually spared some of the villagers, we probably actually get some help later on. But it already seems like there's a lot of layers of replayability in this game, which I absolutely love.
Well, and that's the core, right? That's the Dungeons and Dragons part, is that you
Yeah,
have to go through it and figure it out. Like you referenced that there wasn't much change in, say, this was wolf footage that we have up here, but there was, right? Like the first time when we failed our check, we got surprised. So they got to move first. Remember, all 6 of them attacked me and killed me
yeah.
instantly. The second time when we succeeded on it, we didn't get surprised, so we got to move first, which is a tactical advantage. And in Dungeons and Dragons, it's very common that it happens. The thing with the chieftain that was funny is that's also a common thing. Like the DM doesn't have to tell you anything. He doesn't have to say it. So you go over here and you start flirting with a barmaid or punch this bartender in the face. Like he's like, just talk to the guy in the corner here. That's where I had the quest. That's all you had to do. But like I've spent 4 hours punching everybody in a tavern just to realize it was underneath a stool that you had to look. Like that's what happens in Dungeons and Dragons. So that piece of it, in terms of like atmospheric storytelling, is fantastic. And I think that's what makes the replayability, is that like you could do this probably 100 other times with the roster of characters they have, and still get a somewhat decent or different outcome. So stuff like that keeps it very interesting. That keeps it also resonating Dungeons and Dragons in my head when we were playing through it.
Yeah. But I gotta say, this is already one thing that really kind of irritated me a little bit with the gameplay of it. So as you see with this first footage, me and Donnie are just playing our actual characters. So I didn't notice until I started hosting my own game, but it's very much like, no, you need to have 4 players. You need to have 4 active characters. Because I thought me and you could just play our characters, and I was hoping the game would adjust difficulty that way. I love playing a lot of board games. So when I first saw this, I was like, oh, this maybe looks a little bit like Gloomhaven, which, that has a scaling difficulty of how many characters you have going on. So this game does not do that. So me and you just got mopped this first time around because it's just 2 of us. So you have to bring hirelings, which are still the main characters. There's 6 classes you can get in this game, which also I have a little bit of a complaint with that.
Yep.
But you have a paladin, a sorcerer, a ranger, a rogue, a fighter, and a bard. If you know the studio and you know Demeo, the studio absolutely supports their games. I remember when Demeo, I got it when it was first early in its development, and there was only like 4 characters. I think now there's like 6 or 7. So they always just add characters, and so I'm sure this is going to happen with this game as well. But yeah, it just kind of annoyed me where it's like, all right, we got to bring in characters. It wouldn't have annoyed me so bad, but you don't level those characters up. They're literally just
Yeah,
pieces,
throw away. Yeah, that's all they are.
which that kind of stunk. I'm like, for me, it's like, well, I would have liked to actually create these characters too. If I'm going to be playing other characters, I want to play them as well. Instead, they're just basic pieces there.
Well, let's expand on unless you want to do it for a separate section because that there's a whole spool to that. Like, not only can
No,
you
you're good.
not if it's just 2 players or 3 players or 1 player and you want to add hirelings like you said just to fill the board so you have more spots and can handle more guys, it's fine. You pick them off the shelf and you put them back when you're done, which is disappointing. The other piece that's disappointing is like Andrew said at the beginning, like just creating a character. Like Dungeons and Dragons again being so significantly weighing or heavily involved with like role playing and the way that you're supposed to get into it. You can change skin tone, color of the shield, like that little basic stuff, but you can't like build a character, at least not the way a character looks, like a character creator or something. The wrinkle on that they did include in this is that you are able to like change your stats. So every character has 2 stats and you can kind of swap those out. So you can build a like semi like character around whatever you'd like, but it's nothing like, 15 attribute points that you can drop into charisma and dex and whatever like you can in a standard Dungeons and Dragons. That's a piece that they just don't have, and if they ever bring it, that's great. But there is it like he's showing on the screen right now. There's a leveling tree, there's unlock points, so there's a degree of it that gets there. It's not as uniform as if you brought me in with a hook saying Dungeons and Dragons, I would expect that piece of it. Like, great, I'll make this
Yeah.
guy that's so unique and just the way I like it, and you are limited in that aspect.
Yeah, definitely. Like that is a thing that kind of also made me a little sad. So
Yeah,
the 6 classes that I listed, you can't change their races. So it is a dragonborn paladin. That's it. It is a human ranger. That's it. You can't be a dwarf ranger or an elf ranger, anything like that. Nope. It's locked in its race with each of the classes. So like that kind of stunk. So each class has a primary skill, which that is locked in, but the secondary, as Donnie was saying, you can change. So like I picked the dwarf fighter. His primary skill is strength. Can't change that. But its secondary skill was suggested constitution, but I could change it to wisdom, charisma, agility, like whatever I wanted. And so there is a little bit of wiggle room of like creativity, which is, okay, but it's not, as Donnie was saying, that's not Dungeons and Dragons really lets you play the role playing, which so this is a little bit lacking in it. Even with the character like coloring, I also was a little disappointed. You only get like change the character's
yeah,
primary color. And it's like, okay, but like that's basically it. What I think would have been a really cool touch is if they gave you essentially a paintbrush, because a lot of people who play tabletop miniatures love
that's
to
true.
paint their figurines.
Yeah,
And it just would have been kind of a nice touch to actually have like a little brush and you could
yeah.
maybe paint your
Intricate
colors.
little parts different. Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it really weird. Granted, I know like some of these pieces, some of the parts of them are very tiny, which also is very typical for miniatures. I don't know. It just would have been like nice little touch. But yeah, so the customization of it I found a little bit weak.
Well, and that curtails into like another point I was going to make just in general gameplay too. I mean, the way this rolls is you do have a standard D20, right? And it's shaped like a D20, so it looks like and it rolls like a D20, bounces off stuff in the environment, which is just a neat effect and animation. But at the same time, it's a pass, fail, or a critical, which is double damage. And it's like, minuscule chance of getting the critical, but the pass and the fail has like greater odds. You primarily pass, really. But again, that takes out like it makes the game really slow, I think, and it probably makes it fast at the same time, right? You only have 3 options, but at the same time, you're not getting a 1 or a 2 or a 5 or a 19, and some of that stuff is the most exciting stuff in Dungeons and Dragons. Like, oh, I just barely made that, but my plus
Yeah.
Constitution added to this, and therefore I'm over the threshold. Like that's part of the cool part of it. So it would be neat if they had diversity there as well. But again, that directly lines up with the skills that you choose and the attribute points that you associate with what you want to do, and it all kind of rolls together. They've done a good job of like putting a blanket over it and saying, well, we can't really do that. So instead, we'll give you the skill tree that you level up your individual character with. You can actually unlock 2 more Constitution points to boost your score on those rolls or whatever. And they do have the rolls. It just, again, it's like they almost took that really complicated Dungeons and Dragons mechanics, which they are. They're tricky, and they smooth them out. It's like a level
Yeah.
field, and they said, here you go. Now, anybody can play this game, which again, accessibility is a positive, and you want people to be able to play this game. So, it's just their way of doing it, and I dig it. I'm just, it's not the full experience, clearly, as we've been saying.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, I love playing basic board games, some tabletop games, and this obviously very much simplifies it because that's
Yeah,
usually one thing that always stinks is setting up the pieces, figuring out the rules, figuring out how pieces are moving. In this, it's very simple. Um, I know, like I said, I referenced before, my friend David, he played with his wife playing Demio. She's not a huge gamer, but he was very much like, oh, these mechanics are very simple. This is how you move your piece, how you attack. That's it. She was able to figure out. They beat the entire campaign just playing together. And it's like, this feels exactly kind of the same way. So, like I said, if you've played Demio, you're going to feel right at home with this. You could easily have a young kid play this with you. Well, to an extent. I will say this, I looked this up, which I thought this is going to be another big miss for me. This doesn't have couch co-op, which I think is kind of odd. Like, I know it's on PS5, like you could play on console. It's like, why didn't they have couch co-op? Hopefully they come out with that. But yeah, it's very accessible that a young kid could play this game.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, the card system, I will say too, as you're seeing in the footage, it took me a while to kind of figure out. There's a good amount kind of going on with these cards, but once you kind of figure it out, it's not too hard. The tutorial in this game is it's enough. It's enough to really understand how you're moving and going around, but to understand your character, how things work, because very typical Dungeons and Dragons, like things work together well. Covering the people in oil, now they're susceptible to fire, or people wet, now they're more susceptible to lightning. So it's a way to kind of make combos and play off things, set up tiles, traps. It takes a little time, but I will say, I found this game a bit. I mean, it's funny that I'm saying this because we failed, obviously, the first handful of times. But I will say, I find this a little bit easier than Demeo because there was a handful of times where I'm like, oh, this is easy. I'm playing Demeo. This is no issue. And then you get swarmed by 1,000 characters and we just get smoked. This already I felt like was a little bit easier. Once we figured out we needed 4 people and I figured out how my cards work.
Well, the cards were actually pretty cool. So again, harkening back to the Dungeons and Dragons piece of it, like there were moves that I was using that I didn't read the whole card. I was like, oh, fireball, use it. You're like, no, that actually does better if you do it like this, and you only learn that from like the card tips and like there, which is great. Like there's actual detail to it where it's like if you can really get strategic with them and use them correctly, and it all works really well, and that's that synergy that you're talking about. But in terms of the speed and stuff with it, one of the things that I loved about this and I loved about Demio, you're getting ready for a Friday night, you go out or whatever, you can put this on for 15 minutes and blast out a dungeon or two and just make a little progress in your character and put it down. You cannot do that with any form of Dungeons and Dragons. I've looked. I've tried to get it for like children so I could introduce my niece and nephew to it like at a young age. They have sets, they have board game versions of it. I have a couple of them. They're not great. This is just fantastic at that you can just pick it up, play 5, 10, 15, 40 minutes and set it back down. There's no pickup, there's no nothing. Like that part of the accessibility again, like can't go unmatched because it is a fantastic accessibility piece just for the amount of time it doesn't take to get it going. And it's all right there. Like you don't have to memorize it, you don't have to you know what moves your guy's good at after time. You start building the character and you can really have some fun with it.
Yeah. Man, and look at this. I gotta say, the thing that I absolutely love and they absolutely nailed is the art style. I love like playing in the VR. This thing looks so plasticky. It looks like a tabletop game. The pieces, the detail and everything is like it looks plasticky. And I love that you're able to even pick up
underneath
the pieces.
it said made in
hold
Sweden.
it close to the camera, look at it, zoom. I like even literally at the bottom it says made in Sweden because Resolution Games that made this game is based in Sweden. But it's so like it has these awesome little like tabletop details that are so good, and I love the art style of the cards too. Were super cool.
Yeah, they all again the attention to detail is not lacking. Like this is fantastic, and the little call outs with that, and how big the maps are. Again, compared to Demio, like you're pretty much funneled into little tunnels and pathways, but here you can go kind of anywhere you want. I mean, you still have to work within the rules and the action points, but it's cool. It's just that they did not skip on detail at all, and this engine is performing well for an application like this. It was a great design build on their side.
Oh yeah, you mentioned the size. This is the other thing too that I will say I kind of enjoyed because I forgot I booted up Demio because like it's been a while. I'm gonna check it out. I forgot Demio's their dungeons are huge, and like so far I know some of them, and very dark. That's very true. I will say though, so far with Battlemarked though. I know some of the battles you go farther are much bigger, but everyone we at least played at the beginning were so much more bite-sized and so much easier to kind of see, zoom in and out, look at the details of things. Because I remember in Demio where it's like this massive castle and you open a door and it's like, well, now there's 20 people in here. I'm getting smoked. But this was so much more smaller and bite-sized and easy to follow along as to where characters are.
I mean, I spent half my time when I wasn't like rolling was actually like just zooming into the map and checking out little areas. That's how we found the like life portal and stuff. Like it's cool. I mean, it is cool and it is bite sized, but I do think they get bigger. And I think once you get like some out of some of these early areas, like you actually start trekking along and going down a path, it looks pretty cool.
But yeah, someone in chat asked if you could actually change the angle of the board, and yeah, you can. So playing in the VR, it's kind of nice. With you use your hands literally to grip and hold the board, and you could rotate it, zoom in and out. Like it's literally like a physical board in front of you that you can kind of play around with.
At the same time, though, and this is what happened to me at the very end of this play session that we had. My board got tilted like at a 45-degree angle, and I think I did it somehow, but I couldn't figure out. I even tried to grab like both sides and flip it back. I couldn't flip it back, so it was like for the last 15 minutes, I was looking at the map like this. It was just like at a 45-degree angle. It was horrible. I was like, all right, well, I guess I got to go anyways. But you can do it.
You played on the PS5. How was it like actually moving on with the controller though?
It was easy to move the characters. I didn't. I mean, you can look around in the room here. You can like make it big, make it small, kind of glance around. But I didn't really experiment with moving the table with the PlayStation side of it. But again, the zooming, the moving, you can follow your character auto. You can set it to broad. You can follow other characters. You can zoom in. You can focus characters. So there's plenty of viewing options. But I didn't have any hard time. If that's the root of the question, I didn't have a hard time at all navigating in flat, PlayStation instead of the VR here. It was no problem at all.
Oh, I wanted to ask you: were you getting a graphical bug every once in a while? I noticed with like some different animations, like when I was playing with my friend, she was playing the rogue. Anytime she went stealth, sometimes it would leave a piece on the board, but it was fake. If you try
Huh.
to touch it, it would disappear in your hand. Did you
Mm-mm.
ever experience that? All right, because
No,
that
I
happened
did
a couple
not.
times. Because it happened with me as well, playing with you. I can't
Okay.
remember what action you were doing, but every once in a while there was a graphical bug where it would have a fake piece there. Like we'd kill a monster, and you'd see the monster die, but it would have like it's still piece there until I touched it, it would disappear.
Oh, that's weird. No, I did not see that at all.
Now you
You pro-
cannot smash the board in a fit of rage. Unfortunately, yeah, you cannot flip the board if you're losing.
I don't know.
That
I
actually,
had it at 45. Maybe you can.
man, that actually would be a super funny option. If that was a way to quit the game, instead of like opening menu and quit the application, you literally can grab the board and flip it.
Flips the board like grandma on Monopoly night. Yeah,
Yeah,
it'd be funny.
no, Grandma will not pay rent.
Yeah, I don't think you can do that. I don't know. I got pretty close, so we'll have to push that one and see.
There you go, resolution games. There's a nice feature you could add for it. That'd be a fun one.
Rage quit the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh man, but yeah. So yeah, if you, but yeah, the audio as well in this game,
I was
I
about
thought
to
was
say, what do
good.
you think of the music? Yeah, I vibed with this music. I could listen to this at work all day.
Yeah, it was very good. Dungeons and Dragons, very fantasy oriented.
Wasn't
There is
repetitive. It wasn't overly repetitive. It always gets repetitive, but it wasn't that. It had a nice every scene changed and there was transitions. It's a good soundtrack, good audio work.
yeah, and in the story, fully voice cast too.
Yep.
So
Yeah, which is
listening to
great.
it, even a narrator was voice cast, which is awesome. Once again, very much fills the vibe of Dungeons and Dragons because if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and you actually have a crew that's having fun with the role playing, you should be doing some voices, and that's what it sounds like.
And it
So
keeps the meta though. Like you just rolled off the table. Like that keeps the meta of that being an actual board game as well. Like yeah, you can roll off the table. It happens. Like things happen like that, and it does react. It's cool. It's got a lot of the good vibes for D&D for sure.
which I am always that guy. Anytime there's a game with dice, I always end up
Yeah, roll
throwing
it right
them on the
off.
floor.
Yeah, that happens.
I try so hard. I'm like, I'm gonna drop it gently, and it still just falls off the table.
At least it still counts here.
Yeah. Um. Oh, and the other thing I will say, I don't know if you dug into it. So I thought this was kind of an interesting, different kind of style of how they did in Demio. In Demio, you leveled up a actual player account. So as you're playing, you have an actual like level account, your account level, and you unlock cosmetics that way. In this one, it's based off achievements. So you go to your character profile. The achievements are hidden. I think there was a couple that gave you a hint as what to do. But if you did a certain achievement, you could get different colored dice. You could change the base of your character. So it's kind of a badge of honor because obviously you can play with random people. You can kind of show like, oh yeah, I got this achievement. I unfortunately didn't unlock any, but I do kind of like that. It. I'm curious how
Anything
you feel, Donnie. Like
anything that
to
goes to
me,
customization, yeah, customization is great. I mean, I don't know if I unlocked any. I didn't actually look in that section, but I saw it when we first booted it up that you could actually like unlock different stuff. And that same, like you said, same thing in Demio. You can unlock your base. You can get a black metallic dice instead of the standard. So you can do that customization. I mean, from my perspective, yeah, that's a great add-on, but at the end of the day, does it help or do or make it any more your character? I mean, at a face level, I guess, to like you said, for clout, but that's about it. I mean, that doesn't do a ton for me.
but I mean, like, so as I said, your character levels up. So I'm playing as the dwarf fighter. If I started a new campaign, which I did with my friend today, still the same level, still the same cards I was building, but I think you can only get up to level 18 because from what it looks like with your skill points, that's as far as you go, and there's no account level. So I'm curious. So I've played probably 6 hours total. My character's already at level 8. So it's like I'm already a good chunk there. Am I just going to start a new character? Like there's no account level this time around. So I do feel like there's a little bit less progression, which, as I said, Resolution Games does a very good job supporting their games and adding more stuff. Because I remember in Demio, it originally had nothing. It literally
Yeah.
was just, there's your piece. No, I think it actually might have account level at the beginning. But obviously they added way more, and you're now leveling
Well,
up
and gold
characters.
and things like that you can collect too, which stays with you.
Yeah. So I'm curious if they're going to come up with more kind of progression. Because I don't know.
Yeah,
To me, at the moment, it feels a little weak.
oh, I think there's a lot of things like that just shows it's early in development, or at least it's the first, first iteration of it. Because yeah, I don't think 6 characters is enough. I don't think the progression is enough. I think there's more customization that people are going to ask for and people want to do in this. I don't know how far they can push this engine to support that kind of stuff, or if it's not even an engine thing, if it's something totally different. But it'd be interesting to see if they could enable more just diversity. Again, that's again the whole thing with D&D is diversity, because everybody handles every situation you're presented differently. And if you can't do that, it really locks you into what you can, and that limits your replayability for sure.
Yeah.
But it's
But I
cool.
mean,
I mean, you'd have one guy you can go through all the campaigns with, and then you can start again on a ranger, and you can start again on a barbarian. It's just that's a little bit weak-handed than more traditional.
yeah. Which I mean, I guess I said it already shows that your choices matter. So these 2 campaigns have a lot of replayability to them.
Feel bad
They
for
did,
all these guys.
yeah.
We didn't have to kill 25 of them. We really didn't have to. Just
I know.
one.
We massacred so many people. After a while, we're like, all right, I think too many people keep spawning. I was like, I think we should do something else
They just
here.
kept coming. We just kept killing them. It's like, sorry guys.
I mean, we got very good at killing them. But yeah, the Resolution Games already announced that there's plans on other campaigns, which I do believe will be paid DLC, but other characters, and there is one-shot dungeons they're coming out with. That'll all be free DLC that's coming out later on.
And I don't
Um,
think it's a terribly high-priced game, so I couldn't imagine. And I don't think I ever bought any of the Demio DLC, but I would assume it's $5 or $10 for a new campaign. Which, if you really dig it, it's worth it to me.
yeah. Right now, yeah, this game is $30. Each campaign, I do believe, is about 12 hours of gameplay, plus obviously replayability of different choices that are going on. And then, yeah, you have 6 starting characters. But yeah, I guess let's wrap it up. Let's get into our kind of final thoughts here, Donnie. So, as I said, I really liked Demio. I enjoyed tabletop games. I enjoyed Dungeons & Dragons a little bit here and there. I've never got super hardcore into it like Donnie did here. But so seeing that these 2 studios or games kind of, mashed together to create this new game, I was very excited. And honestly, it didn't disappoint. It was very smooth. Like I said, I had a little bit of graphical bugs, but it wasn't anything game breaking. Like I said, I could touch the piece and it would just delete itself, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I had a lot of fun playing with my friends. Playing by myself, I was not having as much fun. Playing these other hireling characters that just didn't have any personality to them, I wasn't leveling them up. It was just kind of frustrating. I wish there was a little more customization as a typical Dungeons & Dragons has, but to me, this felt way more like a new Demio, which I was happy with because that's all I really kind of want. I thought the cards were fun, the animations, the art style is absolutely fantastic. The art team did a great job with this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone ever wants to play this game, I would be very happy to play it because I played a bunch of Demio, and this is just more of that fantastic gameplay, and I would love to do more of it. From where this stands right now, hopefully they come out more customization. This would land at an 85 for me.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, that's a great recap of everything, and I'll again mirror a lot of that. And I'm coming from a slightly different lens, right? Like I was bought into Demio because they said it was Dungeons and Dragons in VR, and it wasn't exactly. It was more of like just dungeon crawling in VR, but they did it
Yeah.
on a great scale that I really did vibe with, and the fact they embrace these little toy figures just by the way they move around the board and the interactions, but yet they're voice acted and they're skippable cutscenes. I mean, there's a lot of convenience, a lot of good stuff that really does speed up a traditional Dungeons and Dragons game, which I can appreciate that. Um, it is not, again, with a limited, I think with just a couple more options of customization and stuff, you could really turn this into a great not even substitute, but a great itch, a great scratch. If you really just wanted to play some Dungeons and Dragons and you couldn't, or you didn't have the time or the people or whatever, I think it does that job. It's not the one that you'll sit down and play 8-hour campaigns back to back on your patio like I've done in the past. But I mean, it does a lot of the things that it can or that it should that you'd expect from a video game. So I think in all those aspects it's great. Uh, the way I want to rate it, and I don't even think I'll rate it as high as you, Andrew. I really want to go with an 80. Like an 80 feels good to me, and here's why. Like I don't love games that are 10 out of 10. I don't love games that are 1 out of 10. Like I like that I tend to gravitate to the Star Wars Outlaws, the 7s and the 8s out of the world because I don't think that everybody's gonna if it's the world's favorite game like Balatro, it's not for me. That was not for me. Card
You didn't like
dealing game.
Balatro?
No, I didn't. I don't. And maybe I'm just that one guy, but like again, that's an example. Like great. Everybody loved that game. Sweet,
Yeah.
it's not for me. I think this game has some room to grow. I think I will go back to it. I know I'll go back to it. I'll be eager to see what comes out. I'll be eager to see the DLC. I love the fact that they took Demio and embrace the Dungeons and Dragons piece of it. Just to again, even if it's just a licensing deal, I don't care. The names, the sounds, the locations, the places. I've played campaigns like this, and that just gives me all the feels. So I'm sticking with my 80 because I think it's got room to go to be a better game. But if you think an 8 out of 10 is bad, then you're incorrect. Like it's a great game. I think this is fantastic. Demio, I would rate a little bit less than this one even when I first got it, just because it's a different game. This is more of my jam for sure. It's not perfect. I think if they had a couple more of those tweaks, it would make it a lot more fun. But it is great, great for what it is trying to do, and I totally vibe with all that. So
Oh, yeah, you play Dungeons and Dragons. Are these actual real campaigns or is these like original? Do you
the
know?
campaigns are original, but the names
Okay.
like Neverwinter and the
Yeah, I
Mountain,
recognize
I've heard
those.
those all. The monsters,
Yeah.
the moves, like in your hand right there, you've got Vicious Mockery, which if you didn't play Dungeons and Dragons as a bard, you would never know what that is. It's a hilarious move. You basically cast an insult at somebody, and it's such a bad insult it causes them damage and stuns them. That's what Vicious Mockery is. It's hilarious. It's only a bard that can do that. That's why I love the bard character because they do that, and it's great they incorporate that in this game. But those moves are the same ones, and that's what's like the license part of it. Like they can't say Vicious
Gotcha.
Mockery if they don't pay Dungeons and Dragons or the Wizards of the Coast to do it. So the fact they can do that now just makes that again feel like it's more at home to me. I like that part of it a lot, but it obviously is different than Demio because they didn't have that. So
Yeah. All right.
yeah,
Well, that's cool.
yeah, it's a great advance. It's a great. It's not even a sequel, but it's a great next step using that same tried and true gameplay style and the way it looks, the art, the music, everything. It's a good step up.
All right. Well, thank you again so much for Resolution Games to give us this
Thank you very
ability
much.
to check out your game, early access. So please check out Demio Dungeons and Dragons Battlemarked on PC, Mac, PC VR, PlayStation, and PSVR today, or whenever you listen to this episode because it's out. But it's $30. We recommend it.
It's
A
a
lot of
great
fun with
deal.
your friends.
It's a great deal in VR. It's a great deal on PlayStation for $30. It's a solid buy.
But yeah, that's going to do us for us this week for this side quest episode. Please make sure you go to GamePassGrabBag.com. Check out our awesome site, which was brought to you truly from this wonderful man here, Donnie.
Nope, it's the team. It's the team's website. It's not mine. I didn't do anything, but it's always it was good to see you guys. Check it out if you want to see the written reviews.
All right, everyone. We love you all, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye, everybody.